Why is there no passion play?
Highlights from the research celebration as well as graduate fair.
How one student keeps his spirits up despite a life-changing accident.
Plus, a look inside this week's student movement.
And much more.
AU News starts right now.
This is AU News.
Good evening, I'm Emmanuel Leonard. Thanks for joining us for another edition of AU News.
I'm Stephanie Racinos. AU News is a joint production of the Intro to News Production and News Editing classes in the Department of Communication at Andrews University.
Passion Play, the live interactive event we have come to expect on campus the last 10 years, is taking a one-year hiatus. Here's Loretta Moiping with more on the reason behind this decision.
The Passion Play has been a tradition on AU's campus for the last 10 years. However, in 2013 and 14 school year, the Passion Play will not be offered.
I think part of the reason why they chose not to do the Passion Play this year was that we actually wanted to revamp what we have done the last 10 years. I don't know if you know this, but we've done the Passion Play for 10 years now, and we've had some incredible investment by community, staff and students to make Passion Play possible. But in order to be able to do it, to take it to the next level, to actually repair tons of our props, to rebuild staff, to improve the whole thing, we felt we need to actually invest some more time, finances as well into doing this. And so we decided this year we wouldn't do Passion Play. Instead, we'd start to actually rebuild everything and do it again the following year.
While the campus ministry's office would love to offer it this year, it would require a lot of time, effort, and money.
I know that for us, we would rather not actually, we'd rather be able to do the Passion Play, but to be able to do it right now would take a lot of work during the last summer. Because we had a lot of damage done with the storm, with a bit of the wind, a lot of wood broke. Things have decayed over 10 years. The initial investment needs to now be doubled up again.
If you are interested in supporting the Passion Play, please stop by the campus ministry's office or go visit their website at andrews.edu/cm. This is Loretta Moiping reporting for AU News.
Last Friday, Buller Hall was filled with a beehive of activity as faculty and graduate students showcased their projects at the 5th Annual Celebration of Faculty and Graduate Student Research. Sarah Burton is the Administrative Assistant of the Office of Research and Creative Scholarship.
Some of the research is in the form of posters, and some will be presented at oral sessions.
The 42 posters covered various disciplines.
I'm with the Department of Physics here at Andrews, and what I work on is the attempt to measure gravitational waves.
I am a new assistant professor in the Department of Engineering and Computer Science. I teach computer science.
There were 2 plenary sessions, one featuring anthropology professor and director of the Institute of Archaeology, Oysten LaBianca. He was also one of the recipients of the Siegfried H. Horn Excellence in Research and Creative Scholarship Award. Undergraduate students will have a chance to present their research next March.
As you streamed in and out of chapel last Thursday, you would have noticed the big white tent right outside. For more on what was going on inside the tent, here's Justin Walker.
In spite of the rain, the graduate fair went on as planned outside Pioneer Memorial Church last Thursday afternoon. Organized by the Graduate Department, the fair is an opportunity for students to learn about the 70 graduate programs available at Andrews. Leslie Salazar, Graduate Enrollment Coordinator, explains the benefits to attending the fair.
I think you can learn the different options that you have sometimes, especially for the grad level. You don't know what's out there for you and how each degree can lead you in a different path and provide different options that you may not even be aware of.
Some graduate programs offer special opportunities for their students.
We have a graduate program with programs in TESOL, teaching English to speakers of other languages, and then the more general English masters.
All of the graduate programs have the same main goal.
Our hope is that they'll be able to have tools to help them make better decisions when they're in the field.
This is Justin Walker for AU News.
Students who attended the fair were given a code to waive their application fee. The code is valid until July 15th of next year.
During Pastor David Ashrick's recent visit to our campus, he graciously took the time to sit down with me to talk about some practical matters important to us students. Take a look. How can we as Christians continue to stay strong in the faith even when we're not in a place where they offer us so many different things as like, for example, here at Andrews, so many different speakers come.
Yeah.
And we hear so many different ideas and we're always blessed. But then when we come home, it's just a small family. How can we stay encouraged when we go back to our local churches?
I think that you're onto something that's very important here, Emmanuel, and that is that being here at Andrews University or a similar university, you have a bit of a bubble type situation where there's a large, active, enthusiastic community of faith, and you get used to that, right? In the same way that you get used to anything, and then when you are introduced to something that's not that, it feels like a letdown, or it feels strange, or it doesn't feel quite right, and you can just sort of leave the whole thing. So I think there are a variety of strategies, but one of which I would say is just to be realistic, to keep reminding yourself, I'm here in this community at Berrien Springs, and I'm on a campus that has, at least, 1,500-ish undergraduates, then the postgraduate students. So, you're in a situation where the music's going to be good because there's so much talent. The community is going to be good. Not that everything's perfect, but it's going to be a really easy, natural setting. And when you leave, you're not going to go to another community likely that's like this. So I think just being realistic and having a period of sort of thankfulness while you're here, but knowing that you're going to have to get back to the real world eventually, and then find a community, little church, and make it the best that it can be, and be a real catalyst to do something special in that community, that church.
Another question I was wondering is for the undergrads, a lot of them come here as freshmen and they're confused about what is it that God is truly calling them to do.
Yeah.
And they might start off psychology, and by the time they graduate, they're an architecture degree. Sure. So what are some ways we can know for sure what is it that God wants us to do when we first start off our college careers? Yeah,
you're onto it. Well, if I knew the answer to that, I'd probably be an advisor here.
Oh, wow.
Now, your question is, how do we know what God wants? And I think that's a really important question that probably should be answered like this, something like this. God's particular plan for your life, according to Scripture, is that you become like Jesus, that you live the kind of life that He did, a life of genuine love for God and sincere love for man. Beyond that, if you want to be a lawyer or a doctor or an architect or in the communications industry, that is largely up to you. I think God gives a giftedness, like He's given you a giftedness, Emmanuel, and you can sort of, with your own mind, say, hey, I think this is where it's a good fit, or this is where it's a good fit. We shouldn't have the idea that God has called me to this, to this, to this, to this, and if I don't get it right, I could waste my whole life. No, God has given you a mind, use your brain. And if you don't know when you're 18, no problem. You can change your mind, 19, 20. And there are people that even make, career changes in their 40s. It happens. So the most important thing that God is calling you to is to be a follower of Jesus, to love Him with all your heart, mind, and soul, and to love your neighbor as yourself. Beyond that, where you're going to live, who you're going to marry, career decisions, those are things that God certainly wants to provide guidance in, but He gives you a lot of freedom and liberty to make those decisions.
You talked about this week while you've been speaking here that you used to be a punk rocker.
Yeah.
Do you still have, is that spirit still in you? Is there some type of thing that you still want to do some punk rocker things? Or?
It's funny that you'd ask that. One of the chaplains said to me a couple days ago, he said, I think people should stop saying that you're an ex-punk rocker. You're still a punk rocker. That's what he said. The punk rock community that I came from, Emmanuel, was one in which we were very socially active, very politically motivated, and very tight-knit in terms of our community. And in many ways, the values of my punk rock community, not all of them, but many of them, are the same kinds of values that I hold today. Like, for example, I was what's called a straight-edge punk rocker. Does that mean anything to you? It means that we didn't smoke, we didn't drink, we didn't do drugs, that kind of a thing. And that's a value that I still hold today. So in answer to your question, yeah, in many ways I'm still a punk rocker, as long as I get to define what that is. And certainly, if what we mean by punk rocker is just somebody who wants to make the world better and be revolutionary, and I wouldn't want to be misunderstood on this, but in that sense, Jesus was a punk rocker. I mean, He was out to make a positive difference and a change in His world.
Do you have any last words for Andrews University students? Anything on your heart that you would like to share with the students here on this campus?
Like we started there at the beginning, it was a great question, Emmanuel. You know, you're in this sort of bubble here. I would say do as much growing as you can. This is a wonderful environment, not perfect, but a wonderful, safe, Christ-centered environment with a great, church attached, Pioneer Memorial, great pastoral staff there. The chaplains are good here, great here. So what I would say is milk this thing for all it's worth. Take this seriously. You're going to be in the professional life for the rest of your life. At some point, your schooling days are going to be over and you're going to be in the professional life. And for most people, that's going to be when they're 24, 25, maybe as late as 30 or something like that. So don't look back and think, I wish I would have, you know what I mean? Have regrets about this time. No, get to know people. Don't always sit with the same people at the table. Introduce yourself to new people. Take some classes. Stretch yourself. Invest yourself in this community and make the very best of what you can in this situation so that you don't look back on it with regrets thinking, oh, I wish I would have. I wish I had. So that's my advice. Just make the best of it because this is a very unique time in your life. You say you live to be 70 years, you're here for 4. This is a special 4 years. Really make it awesome.
And if you attended Pastor Asscherick's This Is My Church series, Pioneer Memorial Church needs your help. They'd appreciate you taking a few minutes to fill out an anonymous survey. The web address is www.tinyurl.com/mychurch13.
In news from around our community this week, we focus on efforts to build a skate park right here in Berrien Springs. Zachary Weems tells us about one man's dream to make this a reality.
Skateboarding, the delight of teens everywhere. However, Berrien Springs youth need to travel outside their own town to enjoy this sport. Kevin Wine, AU custodial staff worker, has been working overtime outside of his normal job to change this.
We're trying to bring the public in Berrien Springs and the Adventists and all the Christians, everybody that skate, because there are some people in the high school and the academy that don't know each other, and also trying to broaden that and to extend the skate park ministry.
He initially approached the university about building a skate park like this one demonstrated, but
I didn't know that a skate park are allowed in a university because of the liability law. So
after collecting hundreds of signatures to build a skate park, Wine recently approached the town village hall about his plan.
They were very interested in that. They wanted to keep coming back with different ideas, coming up with drawings.
15-year-old Michael Vandapolsky, one of the teenagers from Pioneer Memorial Church, expressed the need of a skate park in Berrien Springs.
And skateboarding is just an awesome way to be yourself and you can do whatever you want. So to have a park would be able to let us all go there and hang out and keep us out of trouble.
Vandapolsky usually goes to the Now skate park, but that has drawbacks.
I don't get to come here every day. It's hard to find rides.
Wine is determined to see the park built if nothing else. It's a way of giving back to his community.
I'm a skater from back in the 90s where we had to skate in people's backyards and had to make your own half pipe, and people would get hurt, suing people on your own property. So they didn't have anything like this when I was their age, so I figured now that I can probably do something for the kids these days.
For now, there's much work ahead. Finding land, fundraising, and keeping teams like Vandapolsky off the street and skating safely near home. I'm Zachary Reams reporting for AU News.
Wine is hoping the county will donate the land, but they're hoping to raise $30,000 towards building the park. If you'd like to help, contact Kevin Wine at kevles1@aol.com.
It was last May when word raced across our campus that a PT student was involved in a serious accident. With details trickling in, lost control of a bike, a mangled leg, we prayed and hoped for the best. Now, 6 months later, Rafael Correa is on the road to recovery, and Rebecca Coleman shares this remarkable lesson of losing a limb, but not losing faith.
Last May 4th, on a warm, sunny Sabbath afternoon, Rafael Correa and some friends set out for Vespers at Silver Beach.
Riding his bike down this very same road 5 miles from Andrews, Rafael made the fateful decision to speed up to avoid the police. Although his bike was insured, friends who were riding in front of him and behind him were not.
As he rounded a bend on Hinchman Road,
I see the sign for this slight turn. It's not anything big, it's not that tight of a turn. I just choked and tried to downshift and slow down, but noticed that I wasn't slowing down quickly enough to make the turn.
Sure enough, he had lost control and collided with a light pole. As he lay on his back in a field, he sat up to assess the damage.
I noticed that my left arm wasn't moving so fluidly like my right, so I kept it off to the side. I went to wiggle my toes. My right one, everything was there, functioning fine, and my left was completely numb, no movement at all, and that's when it got real.
Before long, his brother came over.
What I really wanted him to tell me was that if my leg was completely off or if it was just hanging by a little bit of flesh. And he's like, nah, man, your foot's completely off.
In the ambulance to the hospital, Rafael says he closed his eyes and prayed.
I was just praying. I was like, please, God, like, don't allow this, me losing a limb, to be the reason why I die today.
Rafael knew that losing a leg with no medical insurance would create huge expenses he could not afford. He would need divine intervention. Miraculously, a nonprofit hospital in Grand Rapids, without knowing much about his case, except what his cousin told them on the phone, agreed to help.
And they agreed on the phone. They're like, hey, bring him up here. We'll have all the therapies, no cost at all, 3 to 4 weeks. If he needs it, like, we're here for him. And when he's ready for once his limb is like healed, we'll have him come back for a prosthetic leg, no cost.
He's grateful for a second chance, and he says this ordeal has actually been a blessing in many ways.
I was born Adventist, and everything was going smoothly. And in my mind, I never had to legitimately ask, like get down on my knees and ask for something so hard, and truly depend on God, because everything was just going smoothly. I was never tested that hard like I was this year.
Just this week, Rafael got his new prosthetic leg.
God didn't already follow through with that. It's one more item checked off on the list.
It's challenging for him as he learns to use the leg.
Now it's up to me, gaining the confidence to let go of the parallel bars or the crutches and just start walking.
He has a determined spirit and renewed commitment to God.
There is life after a loss,
This is Rebecca Coleman reporting for AU News.
In early September, Paola Caceres ran the Chicago Half Marathon, and though it was her first time running 13.1 miles, the psychology behavioral science major managed to come in within the top third of her gender and age division. Here's a look at how she clocked this finish.
I began training late June 2013 in Chicago. I ran with about 14,000 other runners. I would say my favorite part was seeing the different kinds of outfits that people brought on. Saw some people run in tutus. I had a few doubts going into the race. So I was scared that my knee was gonna give out and I was gonna have to have somebody carry me over the finish line. My biggest inspiration was definitely my father. Over the last couple of years, I've seen him get discouraged from not being able to play soccer due to an injury. So for me, it was just a wake-up call. Like, I'm in my early 20s, I'm alive, I'm happy, I'm healthy. I should take advantage of the energy and body that I have now. So I just wanted to get serious about my health.
Next up, Student Movement Editor-in-Chief, Melody Roshman.
Thanks for joining us, Melody.
Thanks for having me.
So tell me, what are some of the stories that we can look forward to in this week's paper?
Well, this week for our cover story, instead of doing some news on campus, we took a different approach. We decided that since there are so many students who technically are Andrews students but aren't on our campus, that we would focus on Andrews abroad. So we're focusing on a certain student, Caitlin Calhoun, who is studying in Argentina. And we also are using that story to preview our Dispatches column in the brand new section, Humans. Dispatches will feature students who are student missionaries, recent graduates in graduate school, things like that, all around the world, writing and talking about how things are different from Home Sweet Home. Humans, in fact, is a brand new section this year. We've replaced Lifestyle with a section that profiles Andrews students and all the interesting things they're doing, as well as professors and staff and people who are otherwise related to the campus. The way we figured is that there are so many interesting people on this campus of stories to tell, and why not be the voice for them to tell those stories? As well as that, we have a review of brand new film Ender's Game by novelist Orson Scott Card, which came out this past Thursday. And we also have an interview with biology professor Zador, who works out in the Meyer gym. This should be a pretty good issue, I think. Everyone can pick it up. It came out this morning. And look forward next week to such interesting features as an article on the wild cats that have been prowling campus this week.
We look forward to reading the student movement every week. So how can students find a way to contact you or contact the writers so that they can contribute or follow up on the news stories that you guys do?
Well, we welcome feedback. We would love to get letters to the editor, comments, all sorts of things like that. And so if you pick up any issue of the student movement, on the back page next to my column, you're going to find information that gives you our Facebook, our Twitter, and our Instagram. We are also launching our website and our app, hopefully by January of the new year. And you can always write to us at smeditor@andrews.edu.
Great. Thanks so much, Melody.
Thank you for being here. In a September U.S. News and World Report, Andrews University was ranked second out of the country's national universities for ethnic diversity. With almost 100 countries represented here, we took to the streets on campus to see what diversity means to you.
Diversity at Andrews plays a huge role in my experience here.
I think this is a very diverse campus.
There's people from everywhere.
It's like one location with so many different viewpoints.
I have friends from all over the world. I mean, Roel is one of my friends, and I don't even know where he's from, but I know he's not from where I am, so.
Just being able to meet people from all different parts of the world.
If you just go for a stroll around campus, you'll see different kinds of groups.
With different cultures.
Honduras, Bahamas, different parts of Africa, Asia.
Hispanics to whites to Asians to blacks.
Just everywhere.
Creates a much better, bigger picture.
It's a huge part of the Andrews experience.
And it really is a center for cultural diversity.
We regret the incorrect social media addresses in our last broadcast. Please do send us your comments, suggestions, and story ideas on Facebook and Twitter.
AU News is a joint production of the Intro to News Production and News Editing classes. We're so glad you could join us.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here in 2 weeks. Until next time, God bless.